Hey everybody, so this video is going to be for the animal lovers on my channel. I haven't filmed anything for you guys in a long time, and as you guys may or may not know, I have a beautiful bearded dragon named Max, and so I breed my own mealworms for him. Basically, I got sick of buying mealworms. As you know, they're very expensive, and he eats a lot of them. I know I'm going to have people saying, you know, they're not supposed to eat a lot, the shells can impact in their bowels, and you're also going to say they're fatty for him, like you're feeding him junk food. Honestly, they're what he likes. I also feed him crickets, but he eats a lot of mealworms too, so we gotta get both of those in there. Anyway, I was breeding my crickets as well, but after a lot of trial and error, I just basically decided that I'm not going to breed them anymore, so I just kind of fed them all to him and they're gone. I'm going to keep buying my crickets. They were just too smelly, and as you can see, I'm in a small apartment, so I didn't really like living with the big buckets and everything. I just kind of wanted to show you guys how I breed my mealworms. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I will let you know the best I can. I have been breeding them now for about a year, and they're healthy, and I've saved a lot of money. If you're thinking of buying a bearded dragon and you're wondering what the I'm talking about, I will show you now what the heck is going on in this beautiful mealworms presentation. Alright, so basically there it is. Nothing special, and it's a mess right now. It's on my bookshelf because I'm rearranging my apartment right now. Max was up there for a while. I moved him from the other side of the room. You can see where stuff was hung and everything, but he didn't like it there. He didn't like being moved across the room. It was insane. He stopped eating and everything. So I put him back where he was, over by the patio. I think he enjoys looking outside. So right now this is just a bare, ugly bookshelf. But I will show you what's going on. Alright, so Mealworms 101. You are probably wondering what mealworms are. Let me show you. These are mealworms. Hang on. So here's a couple. So these are mealworms, and basically your little beardy is going to absolutely adore these, or gecko, or chickens. And they are high in protein and a good little snack for whoever you're going to feed. They are the larva of the beetle. Now, I'm not so mealworm intense that I know what kind of beetles these are. They're just beetles, I don't know. Your reptile most likely will not eat these. They're not going to like the smell of the beetle. However, my hedgehog likes chasing these little guys around. Quincy. He's blind, so he's not as good at it, but he'll eat these little guys right up. He'll also eat the mealworms. You can feed the birds outside with these little beetles or the mealworms. So basically, these are what I feed my beardy and what I sell to people for their animals. But I need these guys to make my worms. So they'll have little larvae babies, and these aren't slimy in any way. And then, how does this turn into this? Well, this guy sits in this oat bran here, which is what I always keep my worms in, wheat bran. These worms are going to turn into these little alien babies. So there's a little alien baby. And see, this guy's getting ready to go. He's really stiff. He's not really moving around a lot. He's trying to turn into one of these little alien guys, and it's kind of like they cocoon themselves, and they're going to stay like that for about, I'd say about 15 to 30 days, just depending. And I keep them in a little drawer here. Let me put this worm back. So as you can see, this is their incubator or whatever, I call it that, but there's no heat or anything. They're just sitting on that bookshelf. You can see the babies lying dormant. You can see some are darker than others. These are the ones that are getting ready to hatch. You'll find their tails starting to wiggle, and that's their legs and everything forming. And then you might see some of these guys. These are the beetles that have hatched, and I just transfer them with, I don't have a ton of them yet, so I just transfer them with some pliers here. You just be very gentle. Don't get their legs, and I just throw them in my hand so I don't put that much pressure on them. Sorry my camera's not focusing well, guys. I don't know what's going on. And then I just throw them in here. Bye! Have fun! Make lots of babies in your sexual den there. That's basically what that is, a little sex den. So yeah, we're just going to pick all these guys out. 1, 2... Now you'll see if I take this right out, the beetles, some are dark and some are beige, and then you'll also have these little guys here. These ones are ones that have just hatched, so you have to be super careful with them. And as they sit, they start to get darker and darker, and that's where those dark brown ones came from. So to break this down even further, if you're wanting to breed your own, now that you know what they are, if you want to make your own, I just started with a cup of 100. You go to the pet store, they usually come in little containers of 100 worms for $4 or something like that, and I just started from there. It just takes longer, but the more you buy, the faster your colony will grow. So if you bought like 600, you'd have a pretty good starting point. But if you're like me and you're broke all the time, just start with 100, you'll get there. And then I just put them in here in this wheat, it's called wheat bran, and you can get it at the bulk barn or your grocery store or anywhere like that. And I throw some dry cat kibble in here, and it's grain free. That's just what my cats eat, so that's what they got. But anything your cat is eating, you can throw it in there. Mine is grain free cat food, like I said. And the hard stuff, don't throw a big thing of mushy food in there. They will love it, but you will not. You'll get mites. So throw them in there, and maybe once a week I'll throw something with moisture in there. You can either set something in there that has a peel, just set the peel on the wheat bran because you don't want it to get soaking wet because you'll get mites that way as well. So you can set that in there, or sometimes I take like the top of a piece of cardboard and I'll lay it on here, and I'll put something like a carrot on there that of course doesn't have a peel that's not wet, so it would get the wheat bran wet and mites would happen. So like I said, something with a peel or something on top of a piece of cardboard, and I do that about once a week, and you see the guys are sticking there, they're loving it, and that just helps them again to be happy and get fat and healthy for your animal, because whatever these guys are going to eat is what your animal is going to eat. And that's another reason I breed these guys. You never know what you're going to get from a pet store, what those guys have been eating and what your pet's going to eat in turn. So once they start getting happy, they'll start to rise to the top, all these big guys. And what's happening is they're trying to get to the top so they can turn into this little... Oh, sorry, he's having a bad time. He's bleeding. Until they turn into... For real? There's one. I'm just throwing it in that little incubator. I usually find about 10 a day. Anyways, I do that until I find them all. I take them out of here and I transfer them. Now you could leave them in here, but as you can see, I've missed this guy so many times that he's actually hatched in the batch. And that's what happens if you can't find them. Instead of incubating in with his other dormant guys, he's just going to hatch right in there. And in turn, he could start eating your worms. Also, if you have these guys laying in there for too long, your worms will start to eat them because they can't protect themselves. So I just like to keep them separate. Just go through, find what you can. Oh, there's another one. And I'm going to pause it and find the rest, and I'll come back. Okay, so I found as many as I can today, and I just wanted to show you, if you see when I'm turning this up, all this gray matter down here, it looks like little salt pellets. That's called frass or frost, and it's their poop. That's the worm's poop. It's dry, but it does have an odor, so once it starts to build up, you do want to get rid of it. So what I do is I wait until all my worms are bigger, and I'll take a couple of colanders, and I just pour all of it in there into a bowl, tap it out, and then I'll make sure, you know, none of the worms fell in the frass. If they're big enough, they shouldn't. But if you don't wait until they're big enough, all your worms are going to fall through and you'll end up chucking them. So make sure they are big enough, sift them through, dump some new oats in there with in your container, and just add them back into it. This way they're getting new wheat bran, and you're also getting rid of all their shit, because you don't want them living in that again. It's not going to transfer well when your worms are eaten by your reptiles. Okay, so that's basically it for storage. It's very easy. Container from the dollar store. I just put this around. This was storing crickets so they couldn't crawl out, but you don't need the tape. They aren't going to crawl out. Poke some holes in the top. You don't want too much moisture in there and you'll get mites, and they are a pain in the butt to get rid of. So one container for the worms, another container for the little guys that go to sleep, and this is just a 3-tier. Sometimes I'll get 3 of them going if I have a lot. And then the container for the beetles. Now, this one looks a little different. I put toilet paper in there because they like to crawl through it, and that's where they'll lay most of their babies. Also, I'll spritz it with moisture every once in a while, not too much, just for them to drink. And you can tell today was the one once a week I put moisture in here. So I've done both the beetles and the worms with the apple. You can do anything, an apple, potato, carrot. I'll throw kale in there when it's starting to go bad, the stuff that Max doesn't eat. I'll throw that in there, squash. If you're going to throw the kale or any leafy greens in there, make sure it's on a piece of cardboard though, because these guys are going to want moisture, and they're going to lay their babies in this, this wheat bran here, which I'll then obviously transfer into the bucket with all the worms for them to get bigger and grow. And there's also dry cat food. The beetles and the worms eat the exact same thing, just to make it easy. And then once it starts to get like this is squash from last week, I'll take that out. If it's something that doesn't dry up like this, don't leave it in there because you'll get mold and stuff. So these apples I'm going to take out probably in 24 hours. So I put them in at lunch, so I'll come home at lunch and take them out tomorrow. So it's the 3 containers, and I mean, if you're going to have more going on, you can buy more containers, but it's basically pretty easy. Honestly, if I can do it, anybody can do it, and you'll save a lot of money in the long run, because it's just not worth it to spend that much money. To me, it doesn't take up that much space. Also, you know exactly what your pet is going to be eating. Mine is going to be eating wheat bran and apples, just like the worms ate. Let's ask Max what he thinks. What do you think, Max? Do you like the worms? And I don't think you're overweight? I don't know, tell me in the comments below. Just make sure if you're feeding your reptile mealworms, he's big enough to do so and he's not going to get impaction. If you want to feed a baby the mealworms, make sure they're small mealworms, and make sure you cut them in half so it's easy for him to consume and digest and he doesn't, again, get impaction. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Me and Max definitely want to hear what you think about our video. Make sure you leave lots of comments for us. We like to hear from you. Have a good day.